Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. Now, what you are looking at right now, we flew up to Vancouver from Denver on our last flight, and that was a flight by request, and this is the freeware add-on scenery for Vancouver. I did put the link down in the description of that video, and we are sitting here in the fly-by-wire A320, and I will try to remember to put a link in the description for the installer for this. And the reason it'll be for the installer, because I think you can possibly install it without it, but why would you want to do that when not only does the installer keep it up to date for you, you can get access to the dev version or the stable version, but it also includes the Salty 747 installer now, which is just awesome. These guys are just amazing, and what they have done with this aircraft is stinking-tastic, and they're not done yet. So just kudos to the guys putting this, just doing the work in and putting this aircraft together the way they are. It's just doing an absolutely fantastic job. So kudos to you guys. I am super grateful for it, and I really enjoy this. I've never been a big Airbus fan, but I actually enjoy it with this one just because I didn't have to, pay like $130 for it like I did with the what was that one we had years ago? I don't remember, or $80 for the Aorous version, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You guys put your time and effort into it. You provided it free to the community, and I am grateful. And so that's what we're going to be flying today. Now, we are going to be doing quite a long flight today. It is from Vancouver all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska, and we are flying up there in preparation for an upcoming birthday flight, and you'll hear more about that as the time draw neareth. But other than that, what do you say we climb up in the office here, take a look at what's going on, and get started. So, as has become the practice here, we're going to start with our flight briefing, but we're going to do things a little bit different today because of what is provided with this aircraft. If you jump over here to your tablet, yes indeed, this bad boy works. And there's a lot of good stuff in here. I'm not going to go into great detail. Let me just say this. You can link your sim brief to the tablet, as well as linking it to the FMS/CDU/FMC, whichever term you prefer to use. If anybody's wondering, I'm talking about this guy here. There's a way to link them, both to sim brief, and it allows a couple of things. First of all, I've linked a sim brief, and it allows me to obviously pull my flight plan, which is in here, but I've also linked it to Navigraph. Excuse me, I got a hiccup there. I've also linked it to Navigraph, which allows me to pull and pin charts in here. Now, we're not going to do all of our briefings and everything from this tablet, because for this flight sim world, it's just a little too, I don't know, small maybe, or it's just easier for me to use Sim Toolkit Pro. Now, I will say this isn't like a replacement for Sim Toolkit Pro, because there's a lot of other stuff over there that simply is not available in this tablet, and whether or not it will be, I don't know. But I love how this tablet is integrated. It works really well. You've got immediate weather here. For example, CYVR's current weather is 110 at 7 knots. That should be the weather in sim, and when we get to pulling the ATIS, that's something, that's one of the things that we can check, is whether or not the ATIS matches up with what's in here. So really good stuff there. You've got your basic route right here and so on. And then now, of course, you've also got your operational flight plan in here. So if I go down here, here's operational flight plan. I've got overview. This is information on the aircraft. You can also do fueling in here, which I just completed. So I set the fuel to what our block fuel is. You can do your pushback from here, which gives you this nice overhead view. So this is like a manual pushback, right? So, and I haven't messed with this yet. You can pull your services here as well, call your fuel truck, ground power, baggage truck, so on and so forth. All of that stuff is just right here in this happy little guy, and it's good stuff. You've got, this is where I'm pinning charts at. I'm just going real briefly over this stuff so that you guys can see this is where we're at on the airfield, on the particular chart that I pulled, and so on and so forth. This is for VATSIM or IVAO. Going back up here real quick, the difference, so this is pinned charts, and then this is just the current chart I'm viewing, right? Failures, if you want to run failures, and then you've also got checklists in here. and then you've got interior lighting and aircraft states, right? So I could set the aircraft into whatever state I want to and have it ready to rock and roll. So really good stuff. So for us right now, what we want to look at is our operational flight plan. So I'm going to give you the basics real quick right here, and then we're going to pull our Sim Toolkit Pro over here and make good use of that. One thing I will say, because at least for me, my scroll wheel zooms in and out, it doesn't scroll this page down. So if you want to scroll this page down, you got to click on this guy and drag it. So just keep that in mind when you're using this bad boy. So our flight today, CYVR to PANC in the A320, and you can see the air distance is 1,244 nautical miles. This is a long flight, and it's going to take a few hours. So the main thing I'm going to look at right here is our block fuel today, 23,670 pounds. I mentioned that I already did the fuel, 23,670 pounds. Once again, now of course I'm recording videos a little ahead of the release, right? So I've already released, or as of the recording of this video, I don't think I've released the video where I asked you guys, do you want me to go back and forth between metric and standard depending on where I'm flying, right? So we're flying Air Canada. Pretty sure Air Canada uses the metric system, not 100% certain, but pretty sure they do. So if you want me to go back and forth, you need to let me know down in the comments, and then I'll start doing that, but it'll always be behind a few videos. Okay, that's why we're in pounds. So 23,670 pounds. I already loaded that fuel, and you have the option there to choose how fast it's loaded, right? So here's the fuel, and then here's the time. You can have it instant, fast, or real time. I actually set it to real time. We had about 20,000 pounds in there. It took 9 minutes to load, you know, around what, 3,670 pounds. If my brain will function here. So just keep that in mind. If you set it to real time, it's going to take a little while. And just so you know, also, you can click here and just backspace. You can't highlight it, but just backspace and type in the number that you want. And it also shows this little cloud download. Fill block fuel from SimBrief, right? So just for example, I didn't do anything with this. Let's just say this is at 2,000 pounds. Okay, if I click here, look, 23,670. I actually typed it in the first time, but 23,670, that was our block fuel from our flight plan, right? 23,670. So just something to keep in mind there. And I put extra fuel in there, right? But well, I put it up here, 2,000 pounds. So I'm going to put my trust in this thing, you guys. I never trust fuel, but I'm going to trust it. Okay, so that's the basics of our flight plan in here. Oh, see, can't scroll. That's the thing. So now let's bring our SimBrief, our Sim Toolkit Pro over here. So this is what we were just looking at inside that tablet there. And our route shows up on the home page of that tablet, which is really nice to have it just right there and handy. Block times, we're not even going to come close to making those, I can tell you right now. Packs should be 186, so this is what I'm looking for here, is our weights, right? Because this is going to become important a little bit later. So our packs should be 186, cargo at 9.1 thousand for a total payload of 41.7 thousand with a zero fuel weight of 139.4 thousand pounds, around 23.7 thousand pounds of fuel, so that puts our takeoff weight at 162.6. Now here's the crazy part. That is our max takeoff weight. We're at the max fuel, according to this anyway. That doesn't seem right, does it? Is that the max takeoff weight? I'm going to look that up somewhere else off screen real quick and just see if the max takeoff weight is 162,600 pounds. That doesn't seem right to me. Because that also puts us at our max landing weight. Something about that just doesn't seem right to me. But either way, here's the load sheet here. We've got the block fuel in there already. I'll check and make sure that the payload's good to go. And now our weather in here says wind 1107 knots, so it's pretty close to the weather that we saw on the tablet in there. We'll see how that plays out. And that's going to take care of our flight briefing. Okay, so just so you know, I did look it up actually, and the maximum takeoff weight is about 12,000 pounds more than what we're at, so we are still quite close to our maximum takeoff weight. The maximum landing weight, wrong button there, is actually dead on. It's exactly what we're at for our maximum landing weight. In case you're wondering what that was again, we can pull it up in here so I don't have to bring what you call it over here. So the takeoff weight, the max takeoff weight is about 12,000 pounds more than this. The maximum landing weight is indeed 148.6 1.6 thousand pounds. So we're going to be right at our max landing weight, which is going to be interesting. And I'm just going to make a note right now up front, landing in Anchorage, we will not, regardless of weather, land on runway 33. I have an add-on scenery from Anchorage that is really fantastic, but the guy who did the scenery even mentions in the comments section on flightsim.to, is that what it is? That he can't figure out why the terrain is doing what it's doing on runway 33. And I loaded in there and just kind of skimmed along the terrain. Whew, that would be, I can't even imagine what that would do, the kind of damage that could do in real life. And he hasn't been able to figure out why it's doing that. So we won't be landing on runway 33. I have no idea why I decided to bring that up now, but there you have it. Okay, so now let's jump into our checklist here. So there's a couple ways we could do this. Now you can check these off, right? So gear pins and covers removed, fuel quantity is checked, it's in pounds. We don't have seat belts on. The aiders are on nav, so these are up top, right? So what you want to do is, remember now, the checklist comes after the flow, right? So if you jump up top here, this is the aiders, they're on nav already, it's already aligned. The seatbelt sign in the Airbus should be down below here if I'm not mistaken. Is it down below here? You know, that seems to be a thing. Oh, you can lock, by the way, you can lock that door in case you didn't know. I seem to have a struggle lately with finding certain things, and this fasten seatbelt sign is definitely one of them. So I'm not gonna like stress out about finding a fasten seatbelt sign here, but for whatever reason in my brain it should be down here, but in reality it's clearly not. Okay, so we've got the aiders alignment complete. I'll keep my eyes peeled for the fasten seatbelt signs. Actually, it's a button on here, isn't it? I know it is. Oh my gosh. You know, no, it's the switch right here in front of my stinking face, as it always is. I apologize for taking the time to look for that, but for whatever reason it drives me nuts when I can't find it. And because I bounce around in aircraft, so just bear with me, right? So I fly the 737, I just flew the 787, I fly the 747, and now we're in the A320, and they all have their differences, and so I forget where things are sometimes. But anyway, all right, so that's taken care of. Let me just get this out of the way here. So looking at the flow sheet that I have here, the external power is on, which is this guy right here. Also remember, if you're not familiar, so Airbus is a dark cockpit concept. That means when you see lights, something is incorrect. So for example, these are all the fuel pumps, they're all off, and that's why the lights are on. Yeah, Gen 1 fault, you know, so on and so forth. So when you see lights on, with few exceptions, when you see lights on, that means they're in the incorrect position, and there you have it. So moving on. APU, we're not using that yet, so we're not going to start the APU, but just so you know, the APU startup's definitely different in the Airbus. That's something we'll have to keep in mind as well. Internal lighting is required, documentation is good. Flaps are in the 0 position, speed brake is down and retracted. We can do the recall if I can get to the right view here. The views are all different too, right? So that's the other thing, like all the views are different in the aircraft. So where I click a combination of buttons in one airplane, it's not the same combination of buttons in this airplane. So just keep that in mind. So this is the, I believe it's called the E-cam, right? So you've got your recall here, and then that would be, now is it both of these make up the E-cam or just this one? I'm not entirely sure. It's engine something 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 something, so it's probably both of them. I don't remember what E-cam stands for, but anyway, when you hit the recall, you would get your messages up here. So for example, you see we've got a company message there that's going to be in the FMC. We're going to get to that momentarily, but basically we've taken care of the items on this checklist. So we finally found the seatbelt sign, so that's on. Also, if you had that blinking light there that you're seeing, that's actually from the jetway. I don't, it's a little obnoxious, I know, but there you have it. And then setting the barometric reference, which we haven't done yet because we haven't done anything with the weather, the radios. We haven't pulled the ATIS. My goodness, is it really that bad? How do you guys even listen to me? Like, how can you stand to listen to me? There are times where I'm just like, And I'm stalling a little bit because I haven't pulled up the flight plan over here yet. Anyway, that's my fault, because I need the chart to get the ATIS, right? Which, by the way, if I was being sneaky, I could go over here. And I gotta get used to which one has the charts. This is probably the easiest way to do it here. Click on the chart, and so this is the taxi chart, right? And then zoom it in, zoom in, and move it, right? I can do all that stuff, and there's the ATIS 124.6, which you'd also think that there's some part of me that maybe remembered that since we just flew in here, but anyway, 124.6 it is. So we'll jump down here, 124.6, scroll that down, and we're just going to listen to the ATIS. Whoops, a little farther. Come on, there we go, there's that one. And then you got to go up to go. There you go. Attaboy. Alright, let's listen.
Vancouver Airport information. Yankee 1800 Zulu. Wind 09 or 4 at 12. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky condition. Few clouds at 3,400 feet. Ceiling 5,000 feet broken. Temperature 11. Dew point 10. Altimeter 30.24. ILS runway 8 left and ILS runway 8 right in use. Landing and departing runway 8 left and runway 8 right. VFR aircraft say direction of flight.
Okay, so one thing's for certain. My theory from when we flew in here as to why they were saying ILS 26 left and right in use, but landing and departing 8 left and right. My theory on that is completely blown out of the water there. So there's that. Okay, so wind 094 at 12. Real quick, I just want to make the comparison over here. So on here, we're getting wind speed. Yeah, it's different. So 3024 is correct. We got 110. What is raw? Maybe. Oh, okay. Yeah, that just gives it to you as a. And I don't know. Maybe that needs to be updated. How it gets updated, like when it pulls weather. But it's off by a little bit. 094 at 12 is what the ATIS says, which is what the sim is actually going to have in it. Vice 110 at 7 on here. So something to keep in mind. Also keep in mind if temperature and dew point are the same, guess what that means? It should be raining. But I don't see any rain out there, so not sure why that is. Going back to our checklist really quick, which is way down here. So barrel reference needs to be at 3024, so we can go over here and we can put both of those in 3024. And I don't think that they're linked. No, they're not. So that is really high pressure, actually. 3024. It should be pouring, and they are linked. Actually, they weren't initially, but they are now. It should like literally be just absolute downpour at 3024, right? Or not at 3024. What am I talking about? So the high pressure means cold air. Let me get my brain together. High pressure means cold air, but now that's complete, right? Then we can go to that checklist. We'll get there in a minute. But when the temperature and the dew point are the same, it should be raining, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. That's going to take care of our. Let's go with this as our naming convention. That's going to take care of our cockpit preparation checklist. I'll be back momentarily. We'll take care of the before start checklist. Okay, so before we go into our before start checklist, before start flows and all that, we still need to set up the CDU, which is this guy right here. Now, I'm not going to go into details on how you link your sim brief to this one. It is a little bit different. Let me just tell you this. Not only have these guys put together an amazing aircraft, but they've also put together a absolutely astoundingly awesome website. If you need to know how to do something on this, you go to their webpage. I'll try to remember to put a link down in the comments below. In fact, as I'm talking, I'm trying to make a note here. Link for FLYBYWIRE A320 site. I'll try to remember to put a link down in the description, not the comments, but down in the description below. Click on that. Listen, I'm telling you, these guys are doing an amazing job. These guys rival payware companies. Right now with this aircraft, not even close to being complete, they rival payware companies with the features they're including in the aircraft, as well as the documentation to back it up. And you all know how I feel about documentation, especially about Yeah, okay, I'm going to leave that at that. So let's go into this right here. So I've already gone ahead and initialized the flight plan. And that option was available because I've linked it to my sim brief. And so it's pulled the flight plan for me. If I go here, bam, it's already right there, right? Now, as far as departure and arrival is concerned, let me just clear that off. It's a little different here. There's no departure? Yeah, there's no departure. There's no departure or arrival, departure/arrival button down here. Instead, you click on the airport, and then there's your departure information. Now, if you do not recall, which I don't off the top of my head, so I'm actually looking over here, we're not taking a departure. We're actually direct to FASBO. So if I just go return here, there's FASBO as our first waypoint. We're direct there. And then you scroll, so you don't scroll by going next page. Occasionally there's another page, but you scroll down by clicking the up arrow. Yes, that's right. That's how it's done in the Airbus FMS, which is the Flight Management System, and this is the CDU, and we're not going to get into that argument again, right? Anyway, so here's all our waypoints on here. So here's the kicker, right? When it comes to these waypoints, let me back up here, back to the beginning. So CYVR to FASBO, and then from FASBO it's direct to Trina, direct to Henry, and then it's J502. See that right there? J502. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on how to fill out the flight plan right now, but it's not that hard to do. You just click, so you saw that waypoint, right? So what I could do is I would click on Henry, right? And then Airways, and then I would type J502, and then it would give me the option to put where that's going to, which is ANN. So ANN is the end of the J502 airway usage, right? So J502, now it's got CFSTF on here, whatever that is, and then ANN. So for whatever reason it divided it. This is one of the waypoints on J502 airway. Okay, there you go, enough about that. It does have us for the Peters 3 arrival into Anchorage. So just like with departure, you click down here on Anchorage and click on arrival, and then it pulls up the arrivals in here. Now how it typically works is you get all your ILSs in here, or all your approaches in here. I don't know why I said ILSs, because those showed up first. You get your approach options in here, and then your star, right? But if you click over here, now there's our stars, right? So no star available, or one of these guys, and we're supposed to be on the Peters 3, right? Peters 3. So we're going to select Peters 3. Now as far as transition goes, our last waypoint is JOH. So see, we can still scroll down here. Let's see if JOH shows up on here. It does not. Oh yeah, it does right there. So Peters 3, transition JOH. There we go, and then insert. Bam. Okay, and so then we go from, it should go all the way out to JOH. Come on. Larry Wilcox, ALJ. Yeah, because this is another airway. See, these are all airway. J133, these are all airway. And then JOH, right? And then that's transition now. JOH Denson, JOH to Peters. And now we're on the arrival at Peters. Is that making sense to everybody? I hope it is. So let's look at our performance page now. Now this is where things can get a little bit weird, and I am not intimately familiar with Airbus in the way that I am with Boeing, and I wanted to stress that in the way because I'm not intimately familiar with Boeing either, because I'm not a real world airline pilot. But I have learned a couple things about this. So for example, now we're not going to do a flex temp. I'm going to let it do its own thing. But for our flaps can be a little bit tricky, right? So we're going to choose our flap setting is going to be flaps 1, and you put that in there, and it'll let you do that, but it doesn't put anything here. Now if you want to do this, this is your trim setting, right? So the way this works, and I'm going to actually just, this is where their website is so fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna pull this over here for you real quick and show you what they put in here, if I can find the right page. I'm actually looking for this right now. It's under the MCDU, and it should be, where are we at here? It's just they've got it in the beginner's guide here. So what I'm looking for is you've got your performance page, and now I'm just kind of like scrolling along here trying to find it for you. Now I kind of feel bad. Anyway, listen real quick, let me just, don't do that to me, I don't like when it does that. Let me just show you, I'm just going to show you a glance of this guy real quick. Okay, this is from their web page. Let me bring this over here. This is just one of the tabs I have up, right? So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about going to their website, right? And you can copy it from right up there. And again, I'm going to try to remember to put that in the description down below. But it's worth showing really quick, right? So this is all the information. This is how to fly this aircraft. It's a full manual available to you right here. And you can just look stuff up anytime you want. You got the info and flex temp and all of that right here, which we're not doing. But the thing that I was getting at is this guy right here. Okay, we're talking about setting up the flaps. So up here we've selected flaps 1, and so it says here if you've already done that, which we've done, then you put your entry this way. So x down or up, and that represents the trim value for the nose up or down, right? So we want the nose to be trimmed up, right? So we would do up, and we're going to do 1.0 up. But I just wanted to show you that real quick, so you can find that in here pretty easy. And I know it adds to the time of the video, but it's worth you guys getting a minute to see this. They've done such an amazing job, and I really just want to make sure they get the props that they deserve on that, the kudos that they deserve. So anyway, that's how you do the flap setting, and again, just real basic. Now there's also seriously, whatever, my internet connection is fine. It's just being a butthead, and now it's just like frozen on there. Anyway, there's also performance data and all that goes into this. Oh my gosh, please stop. I already hit OK. Why are you showing that? Okay, I'm gonna pause the video for a minute until this stupid thing stops, and then we'll pick up from right here and carry on. So the prevailing issue was that the servers were down, and we're going on. It's been like 4.5 hours since I started this. I think longer than that actually. Either way, the point is the issue appears to be solved now. Of course, our ATIS has changed a little bit. It's 084 at 15 now, 3029. It was 28 when I first pulled it, and then I checked it again because I didn't just do nothing during the time. I actually looked for a takeoff performance calculator. The only one I found that looked like it might be useful was an Excel sheet where you plug in some numbers, and then that gives you your takeoff performance. And unfortunately, it just wasn't that great. Not that it was bad, but there were aspects of it that honestly I just didn't understand, and it just got to the point where I couldn't even get it to function properly because it wanted me to put in some numbers. I didn't know what those numbers were, where they were coming from. So all that said, we're back in the on the flight deck here. I think I got us at the same gate. Obviously the weather and stuff's going to be a little different. It is what it is. It's fine. We're going to press on. I think where we left off, we were talking about the flap setting. I had showed just very briefly a glimpse of the website and the fantastic work these guys have done in setting up a manual and all of that stuff being available for you. So with the flaps, we're going to go 1, and then what we want here is we're going to go I believe it should be 1. So I want to go 1.0, and then you have to put in up or down. And so we want nose up, so that's what I'm putting in. So I got it backwards. So it's up 1.0 then. So I know GPS primary, thank you. Up 1.0. Oh, you know what it is? You got to put the slash in first. It's going to say it again, right? Yeah. Because I forgot to put the slash in. So it's slash, and then I think you might be able to do it either way actually. Up 1.0. And there we go. So up 1.0, that's what we're going to set our come on, brain work, our trim to, right? And so here's your marker right here. That was a flap thing I pushed accidentally, wrong one. And so we want to trim that. That's going to be 1.0 is going to be where the trim's at. Simple as that. That's what the purpose is there. We're not going to do a flex 2 temp. I'm going to leave that as is. And then to get your V speeds, you just click on each of these. It gives you a V speed, and then you click again to take it from the scratch pad and put it into here. And so we are looking at V1 at 121, rotate at 122, and V2 at 126. Just real quick while I'm sitting here, just want to double check on the fuel page. Let's go to this one here, and we just want to make sure. So our fuel, 23,680 pounds, and if I look at my load sheet, 23,670 pounds was the block fuel, so we're 10 pounds over. I think we'll probably be alright with that. I think we can probably live with 10 pounds over. I did set up the departure and arrival and all that again, and well, there's no departure if you remember. So we're good there. I put the arrival in, so if we scroll down you'll see there's JOH and then decel point and then Peters 3 and so on. So going back over here to performance, we will go to the next phase, and this is the climb phase. I believe you can change a little bit of this, but I'm not messing with it. It does have the cost index at 5. We're not going to do that. We're going to... Is that the cost index that it had on SimBrief? It might be. You know what? I'm just going to leave it as is, because that probably transferred over from there, which means it's going to have to do with our fuel as well. If I change that, then we need more fuel. And then next phase, this is our cruise phase. Again, cost index remains at 5 there, so it's just going to be a slower flight. This is the descent phase, and then the approach phase, which we're not going to put anything in here yet, but when we get closer to the approach, we need to put in our QNH, our temperature, and our wind, and so on. And you can change, I think the QNH will be the inches of mercury format for now, and then there's your go around phase and so on. And that's all of that. We don't need the data page. So on the initialization page, I didn't show you this the first time around. So you get your 0 fuel weight center of gravity, and then this is block fuel. Now I'm a little confused here. So with the 0 fuel weights and the 0 fuel weight center of gravity, if you just click on this, it puts these in the scratch pad and puts them in there for you. Now I'm sure even within this aircraft there's probably a more appropriate way to do that, but being that we're already 4 hours behind, I didn't even mess with it. I went with what it said, and then this right here, it'll say fuel planning in orange. You click on that and then it'll put in the block fuel, but of course the block fuel is not 13,000. So I'm not sure. It could be because we don't have any wind in there or something like that. I don't really know, but it is what it is. The other thing here, so we're looking at flight level 380, and you see that the little quote marks means it's still 380, and then at Peters it's 16,000. We'll check all that against our arrival brief when the time comes. Other than that, I think we can just stay on this performance page. That's where we're going to want to be for departure, and that takes care of setting up the FMC. Okay, so as you would expect, there's still a little bit of housekeeping we need to take care of before we can actually get rolling here. We're not flying a specific instrument departure, so we don't really have an altitude restriction to concern ourselves with. So actually, let me just let's put that back there. It's gonna be all messed up now. I do not do well with the camera views for this. Okay, so we need to take this up. First of all, let's just go up to 1,000. I do it this way so that you're gonna have to do it at some point. So anyway, 38,000 is what we're looking for. That's 39. There we go. 38,000 feet there. You don't have to turn on flight directors on this bad boy. You don't have to. Well, I mean, you do. It's a push button here. What I meant to say was you don't have to turn on the LNAV and the VNAV. That's what it tracks automatically. So if memory serves correctly, the little dot means that it's being managed by the computer, and the lack of a dot means, I don't know, it's not letting me do anything here. It means that it's being managed by you. Yeah, so that's you know, manual mode, if you will, and then that's managed mode, right? So that's what we want it to be on, is to be on the managed mode. We can set this however we want. It looks like the ATIS, that's what it's called on this one, right? The ATIS, yeah, ATIS is aligned. At this point, we're pretty much getting close. So we're in our before start. So let's go ahead and let's get the fuel pumps on. These guys here. Okay, and then APU is a little bit different on this one. So let me just show you down here first. I need to go to, I'm just trying to find the best view for this. So if you switch this over to the APU page, you can see there's nothing going on there right now. Jump up here, so you want to put on the master switch first. So click that on. I usually wait a couple of seconds. I don't know if there's any actual value in that or not, but then you click the start button here, and if you jump back down here, you'll see there's the APU starting up there. While we're bringing power onto the aircraft, let's jump back up here and let's get I don't know why that one turned. Oh, that's right, because I had the problems with, I had to exit the sim, right? Okay, so beacon light is on, strobe light can go off for now, and these are apparently mapped to my switches as well, so nav and logo light can go off. The beacon light can stay on. The strobe light is actually in reverse, believe it or not.
Arm doors and cross check.
Yeah, that's part of the package, right? So there's flight attendants talking in the background and so on. Remember, dark cockpit concept, so only some of the lights actually should be on. In our case, the external power light being on is good. Now see how it says available, right? Notice that there's no light on the APU gen, okay? Because I'm on the APU gen. If I click on it, you see it turns off. So I want to stay on the APU gen. Now I can turn the external power off. And then you can see here, so we remain on power, no problems there. And we are on the APU now. And I just want to make sure that I haven't missed anything else. We've got our altimeters set. We've got our altitude set. Our FMC is up and running. Let's take a look over here at our before start checklist. The parking brake should still be on. Let's jump back there and take a look real quick. It is indeed. So parking brake is on. Takeoff speeds and thrusts are set. Windows are closed and the beacon light is on, and that takes care of our before start checklist, which means here in a moment we will push and start. In case you happen to be wondering, the flight attendant's still talking back there, but I closed and locked the door. She was getting a little loud. We're going to use our pushback toolbar for this one. Let me just double check. So we're going to be taking runway. Oh, you know what I didn't do yet? Let me just shrink that up there. I did not put in the departure runway after coming back into the sim. So CYVR, departure, and then it's going to be 8 left. Plenty of runway to work with. Now see, there are SIDs there, but we're going to just go with no SID. Insert, and then so you see you got flight plan discontinuity there. The way you have to do it here is you have to clear, I think you clear it out, yeah. So hit clear and then click on the discontinuity, and that connects it right there, and that's good to go. And so there you can see it's going to be a quick turn right after departure. Now obviously it would actually be vectors would be the right way to do it. We'd be flying whatever vectors they told us to, but we're not going to do that, so you know, live with it, right? Okay, going back up here, so we're going to use the pushback toolbar. We're going to pre-plan our pushback here. We need to go nose to the right, tail to the left. I've kind of learned the hard way to just not mess with the zoom on this thing, so I'm not going to. Just click and hold the left mouse to scroll it or to slide or move around the map. And then so what you could do is you could say, look, I want him to stay on this line, right, until he gets, well, let's keep him straight, or give or take. So I want him to stay on this line until he gets to right here. So you just left mouse click, and then it's not liking it now. It's like, you're out of your mind, I'm not going to make that turn. So see, now by doing that, it doesn't want to make the turn. It's too tight. So if I want to get rid of that, hit backspace, and we'll do the same thing, but we'll do it a little further up. I just want to make sure he stays in that line a little bit longer. See that? That's what I want right there. So we'll do that, and then we'll put it right there on the line. Left mouse click again, hit enter, that accepts it. And we do have a tug here, so we should actually get some talkie-talk this time. So real quick, let's just make sure we're set up with our before pushback stuff here. So we've got our clearance, windows and doors are locked. We already did the checklist over there, right? Windows and doors, beacon, thrust lever, all that stuff is set. So we should be good to push and start, and so that's what we're going to do here. So let's request pushback.
cockpit to ground.
Yeah, see, we get
to ground.
This is ground. Stand by.
Why is he going to
This
say it
is
twice?
Ground. Stand by.
Why is he saying it twice? That's kind of weird.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is removed. Okay, sir.
The parking
bypass
brakes are
pin is
set.
installed.
You may lift.
All doors and hatches
Parking
closed
brakes
and
are
all
set.
ground
You may
equipment is
lift.
removed. Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft. Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
Okay.
We are cleared for start and push. We are cleared for start and push.
Okay, cleared for push start. Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake. Please release parking brake.
Why is everything saying it twice?
Parking brakes are released.
That's annoying.
Parking brakes are
Commencing
released.
pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
It will start in the
pushback.
sequence.
You can start the engines
It will start in the sequence.
Wow, that's really obnoxious. Okay, to start the engines, you're gonna jump back here. We'll go to this view. It'll be a little bit better here. Okay, so the engine mode needs to go on ignition, right? So, well, if it'll go, my mouse, I gotta get a new mouse. Goes to ignition, and then we're gonna flip the master or the engine switch to the on position, and that should be it. That should be how we start the engines, right? So if we go down here, if I didn't miss anything, which I'm thinking maybe I missed something here. Did I mess something up? Or is it supposed to go on crank? It says, oh, you know what? PACs. Do we have to turn PACs off on this one? I think we do. No, we have to turn APU bleed on. That's what we have to do. Now, $10 says it's starting. I completely missed that step. I apologize. So yeah, make sure that you've got when you turn your APU on. Good stuff. You can tell I haven't flown the Airbus in a while. So when the APU comes on, remember the gen is on automatically, but you have to select the APU bleed and turn it on. And if you don't,
please set your parking brake.
You're not gonna be able to start the engine.
Pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
Oh my gosh, I'll be
Parking brake set.
grateful that I don't have to listen to them over and over.
Lowering aircraft. Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
Okay. Well,
Ground.
they're
You may
almost done.
disconnect.
Okay, sir. Clear to disconnect. Pin has been removed. See you at the side. Have a good flight.
Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay. Oh, good stuff. Okay, engine should turn all the way over here shortly. Maybe. Come on. I mean, there's nothing else to do at this point. We're just literally waiting on it. So, start valve is open. Bleed pressure is supposed to indicate green. Oil pressure rise into increase to 16%. Igniter A or B. You know, I mean, this is the idle, I guess. So again, it's been a little while. I do apologize. It's not like I just don't care. I don't fly the Airbus very often, but I think we're actually good to go here. So if we jump back here, we can leave this in the crank position, and we can go ahead and select the master 2, and that'll go right into the engine startup. And while that's taking place, let's jump back up here to a better view. We are going to be flaps 1, we said. So select flaps 1. We can go ahead and arm the spoilers. The parking brake is set. Hopefully those guys will leave soon, because that was really obnoxious. Yeah, he already pulled out of the way there. So good, fantastic. Ooh, there's some bass in that engine startup. I really like it. What else here? Let's jump up top, because we're going to need to put some more lights on here. So the beacon lights are already on. Wing lights can come on. I don't care about nav and logo. That's the strobe light. Oh my gosh, my lights are such a mess. Beacon light stays on. I've gone in here and tried to change all these out, and they're just a mess. It's a disaster. These lights are a mess. The engine generators go on automatically, as you can see right here. So there's Gen 1 is on also. So the engine is up and running now, so we're good on that. Now listen, let's be honest, there are probably 20 other things you're supposed to check really quickly. They're part of the flows that I'm not completely familiar with. Like your voltage is supposed to be at a certain voltage and all of that. And you know, if you guys want more detail on that, I can certainly go into that and look into that more in the future. Let's turn the engine bleeds off. And then let's see, we can turn the APU gen off, or we can leave it on because it does work automatically. And then I can turn the APU master switch off. And by doing that, if you jump down here on the APU page, you should see the APU start spooling down here shortly. Should. Whether or not it will, because we're getting 0 on here, but the N1 should be spooling down, but it looks like it's still just running. See how it's got flap open? Maybe I did that wrong. Yeah, I don't know. On, maybe you're supposed to click this and then click this. Let's see. Yeah, it's not doing anything right now. I am just not the man when it comes to the Airbus. Okay, well, listen, let's take a look at our after start checklist for the moment, and we'll drive on from there. Okay, so the anti-ice, those should all be on auto. Let's double check those up here. Let's see, probe heat, that one needs to be on. That should be on anyway. We don't need to turn engine anti-ice on right now. The temperature is not low enough for that, so I'm not too worried about it. Why is the APU not turning off? Need to arm the emergency exit lights as well. Is this an error of some sort? We turn the APU gen off. I don't know. I'm doing something wrong because it's still giving me every, you know, like I still have full access to it here, right? I mean, it's just not. What is it doing? Like it's spooling up higher now. Okay, turn the APU bleed off. We should just be able to turn the master switch off, and that should shut it down. I'm done messing with it for the moment. Let's press back over here. So the anti-ice is good. ECAM status. That's checking this guy up here, which, you know, we can hit recall and see if anything else comes up. Let's clear recall. Okay, we don't have any warnings. Flaps are set where we want them to be. This is your takeoff config, right? So like auto brake is supposed to be on max. You click on that and you see it turns it green there. Cabin check. I'm not sure what you do for the cabin. I think maybe that's just checking your doors, or it's just telling you to test it. And then you'll have a takeoff takeoff config test, which is this guy. And if it passes, it says normal. I don't know what you do for the cabin check. Maybe it's one of these buttons up top here. See, now this has also been updated since the last time I messed with it. And so that's obviously going to make a difference as well. But yeah, I'm not actually entirely sure what you do for a cabin check. Passengers, these are the calls, right? So forward, aft, I don't know. They just all went off one right after another too. So maybe those are the cabin checks? Yeah, they must be, because it says cabin ready now. So I guess that's what you got to do, is you got to ding them and make sure they're good to go. Going back over to the APU page, it is still running. It's driving me nuts here. What is going on with the APU? Okay, let's finish this checklist, and I'm going to figure this out off screen because others are going to be here all day. So ECAM is checked. Pitch trim is where we want it at 1. Rudder trim is neutral, so we're good to go on that. That takes care of all of our after start checklists. I'm going to figure out what's going on with this APU, and then we're going to press on. Okay, so this is like take number 3 now, because I had to restart my sim because my track IR decided to stop working. Let me be clear on that. The track IR was working fine, but the sim decided that it didn't want to recognize the track IR anymore, and so I had to restart the sim in order to use my track IR. That's happened to me before. It's a little frustrating. Okay, it is what it is. Let's take a look at our, we already did our after start checklist, right? And we are on to our taxi checklist here. So let me come back over here to decent view. So the APU bleed is off. The APU took its time, but it did finally shut off. So yeah, I guess it just takes a while to spool down or something. I don't know. Ground spoilers are armed. Rudder trim is set to 0. Flaps are set to 1. Pitch trim is set to 1.0. ECAM status has been checked. Now if we come down here, we've got the takeoff config, right? So that's part of the ECAM status. So set that on max. It automatically gets rid of that. And then our takeoff config test is complete. The cabin ready. I don't remember if I did this in the push or not, because it's been like 30 minutes trying to get the track IR working. But that went away when I pressed the forward and the aft call buttons. So I'm assuming that that just means that you've verified that the cabin's ready to go. So our takeoff config is good. Ground crew clearance, we've already received that. After start checklist is complete, and our taxi checklist, we do need to check flight controls, flap settings are set, so we can. Oh, it's not gonna. It doesn't like that. Okay, so let's check flight controls first. Go down here, click on flight controls right here. Go full left, full right, all the way up, all the way down. Rudder full left, and then it'll bounce around. Rudder full right. I don't know why it does that. There we go, and that's our flight control check. And also you can verify your trim right here is 1.0. So we verified it on here, of course, 1.0, but if it's off by a little bit, it'll let you know on there. Put that back on the engine page. Jump back over here. Flight controls are good, flaps are set. Radar and predictive wind shear. You can't do that from that view there, Captain Mac. Come on now. That's down here. So the radar doesn't work right now, but this is the predictive wind shear. You need to flip that over to auto, otherwise your takeoff config will not work. it'll give you a warning. So make sure that's set. Engine mode select. That's good. ECAM memo. There's nothing. And so mark checklist is complete. Oh, I guess you got to mark these as complete. See, they turn green when you do that. And that takes us, so our next checklist will be our lineup checklist, which means we're actually ready to taxi now. Let me get the view squared away here, and keep your fingers crossed that the, track IR is going to work properly, because, oh, some of the frustrations, folks, let me tell you, some of the frustrations. They are something else. That little thing popping up over there was the in-sim recorder that I'm using, so that I can get some of those lovely cinematics for you. I really think this view should be like more like this, right? Like just a little bit closer so we can see. Now I don't know what's with the colors, the blue and the purple and stuff. It's something to do with this livery, I think. Could be wrong on that. Track IR coming on, a little jump. Okay, now I'm going to try and center it, because that's the problem that I had last time. Center, and she worked. Okay, let's go ahead and get the parking brake off. There we go. Bring it just a little thrust here. We're not going to need much. This thing actually rolls pretty good on its own. I think our fuel is going to be a little bit less, and that is because there's a couple reasons for that. But we should still have enough fuel to get there, and that's all that matters. You cannot change the fuel on this aircraft once you have the engine started. I think you probably could if you use the default fuel thing, but that might mess things up too, and I'm not going to do that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at, it keeps doing that every time I click to something else. It's showing this little thing over here for some reason. I have no idea why. Yeah, that's a little obnoxious. Is it going to do it if I click over here again? Yeah, it does every time. Wow. Boy, I just can't get a break when it comes to the silly little issues I'm having today. But either way, let's go ahead and take care of our taxi, and there's no departure briefing. So let's just take a look at our taxi brief real quick, and then maybe we'll have a little cinematic for you here. I'll probably just include it with the elevator music, though. That's what I've been doing. So, all right, taking a real quick look at our taxi brief here. The ATIS is 124.6. We've already looked at that. Vancouver clearance at 21.4. Ground for us is 27.15, even though we're not using it. Tower would be 19.55 unless we get a different frequency. And departure on 26.125. We are right over here. There is a hotspot here we need to be aware of, but other than that, we're just going to taxi out here to Mike, bang a left all the way up to the end here to Mike 10. And hold short of runway 8 left. Now keep in mind once again that we're not flying a standard instrument departure or a SID on this particular flight. We don't have one assigned, so we're going to depart, and then after we hit 1,500 feet we're going to make a hard left and on we go. So quick and short, simple and easy. There's your taxi briefing. Alrighty, we're holding short of the runway here, runway 8 left. Let me turn track IR off for a second here. We've got this guy we're waiting on, and we've got traffic inbound. Not sure where he's at the moment, and I don't know what this guy's doing. Like, he's like turning in position. The good news is well, maybe good news and bad news depending on how you look at it. On the recorder that I'm using, the AI traffic does not appear. So I guess that can be both good and bad. But AI traffic will appear, but when you play the recording back, it's whatever AI traffic happens to be there at that time. So I have no idea what this aircraft is doing, but let's take a look at our before takeoff, come on brain function, our before takeoff flows and checklist here really quick. So once we get our clearance course, we'll line up. We may have to just like taxi right through this guy. I don't know. I have no idea what that airplane's doing over there. Of course, we'll make sure the approach path is clear before we pull onto the runway, which we'll do here shortly. I'm trying to figure out what he's doing, to be honest with you. Transponders are, already on TARA. The only traffic I see right now is actually climbing out. So if you can't see that, there's a little up arrow right there that indicates that he's actually climbing, and of course he's going away from us as well. So what else we got here? External lights need to come on, so let's just go ahead and flip those on while we're waiting for him to figure out what he's going to do. Can't do anything with those because they're on a switch. Up twice. I always found it weird that the Airbus lights, that you flip them up instead of, I don't know, because on Boeing you flip them down to turn them on. So it just seems weird to me.
Please prepare for takeoff.
Okay. Well, that's good. That announcement took place automatically, so nothing wrong with that. Sliding tables stowed. I don't even know if sliding tables pull out on these. They don't right now, so I imagine that's something that they'll do eventually. And then before takeoff checklist needs to be completed. So let's jump over here and take a look at that really quick. Line up. So takeoff runway, TCAS is set. PACs 1 and 2. We're going to leave those on. We'll mark that as complete, and that'll take us all the way to our approach checklist. So let's get this back in the right spot here. Sort of. Oh, there he goes. Now he's doing something useful. Let's turn the track IR back on. So you'll notice I cut myself off there because I accidentally hit the button combination to stop the recording. So you didn't really have to wait because he's rolling down the runway now. Our approach path is clear. We can double check this way. There's somebody out there, but at this point, if he gets too close, he's just going to have to go around. We're ready for takeoff, so we're going to roll out here, and he should be clear here shortly. Yeah, he's already off the runway. So we're going to line up and we're going to go right into our takeoff. I do apologize for the sudden jump there. It's because I didn't use my head. That's all. I didn't use my noggin. So, but our checklist is complete. Everything's ready to go. Let's get her lined up on the runway. Now remember, this uses a FADEC system, which is a full, what is it? Full authority digital engine controls, or digital engine control. So rather than having a TOGA button, and I'll just come to a quick stop here so I can show you, rather than having TOGA, you've got climb mode, which is this guy right here, flex MCT, and TOGA. And we're using TOGA for takeoff, and we're looking at rotate at 122, V1 is 121. So what I like to do is I put it to the climb mode first, let it click in, release the brakes. These engines are pretty loud. And then all the way to TOGA. There we go. And the engines are a little loud, so I will try to talk just a little bit louder, but I don't want to be yelling. No V1 and rotate. No call outs, that is. Okay, positive rate of climb gear coming up. Looking good. And remember, we're just following our flight director. That's the green crosshairs here. It wants us to start that turn now. So let's go ahead and start that. Now you'll see this start blinking soon where it says manual TOGA. That'll start blinking and it'll want us to lower it to the climb mode, which is this one right here. So we need to put it into that detent once it starts doing it. There it is. It says lower climb. So we'll lower to there and then to climb. And that blinking goes away. And we still got the flaps out. They're going to stay out for the moment. Some ugly weather right now in Vancouver, huh? It does want us to bring the nose down a little to start speeding up. Remember, this is fly-by-wire. That's not just the name of the guys that are making it. or that are doing the work on it, it's also, they named it after the fly-by-wire controls. So you don't necessarily need to do a lot of trimming. It auto trims the aircraft constantly. See that? Let's go ahead and put the autopilot on. There it is. Autopilot is on. Track IR coming off. There we go. We can bring the flaps up now, and we can unarm the spoilers. I've got a hotkey for that. Otherwise, you can click and drag it. It's not a big deal. Okay, obviously we're looking for 10,000 feet as far as our landing lights are concerned. We'll take care of those when the time comes. Just going through my procedures pages here. So after takeoff, the APU bleed. We didn't even have the APU on. You can take off with the APU on. This isn't the only aircraft you can do that in. Got stuff rolling around on my desk here. The APU master off, all of that. Engine mode selector as required. So you can set that to ignition in heavy rain or heavy turbulence. Now we've got a lot of clouds, but we're not getting a lot of water or a lot of turbulence. But you can set that to ignition, which is this guy right here. You would set to ignition. We don't need to worry about that. The weather radar doesn't work on this bad boy right now, which is unfortunate. It'd be great if it did. It'd be nice to get that. Also, the terrain on nav display doesn't work right now either, which double unfortunate because I like to make use of that. Let's go ahead and zoom out just a little bit here, make sure everything's looking good. Coming up on 10,000 feet. Now, something I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll probably end up telling you again in the future. Let me find whichever one is the... Nope, wrong one. Wrong one. There we go. Sort of. Anyway, yeah, that's driving me nuts with the light switches there. I need to just completely remove those toggles. What was I going to say? This doesn't show me top of descent, or at least it didn't last time I flew it. But there is a way to calculate top of descent. I'll show you that when we start getting closer. The aircraft actually has something in it that'll help you with that, so that's good. And then I think our next checklist is the approach checklist, right? Let's take a look. Yeah, so we don't have an after takeoff checklist on here, so we don't need to worry about that. The next checklist will be the approach checklist. So we're good to go there. Everything is as it should be. It takes care of all of our after takeoff procedures, which means, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? That's right, you guessed it. It is time once again for some of that wonderful, obligatory elevator music. Alright, assuming that the weather remains what I'm getting, similar to what I'm getting from Sim Toolkit Pro right now, which it's hard to say, but going with that, let's take a look at our arrival and our approach briefings really quickly here, because we're going to be on top of descent in the not too distant future. So, starting with our arrival, it is the Peters 3 RNAV arrival. We're coming in out here at Johnston Point, or JOHVOR. From there to Denson, then to Peters, at or above 16,000 at Peters, and then to Skens, and it's between 15 and 13,000 feet. In our FMS, we've got it set to 14,000 feet hard altitude right now. Now, from there, even though we've got you know, MMAT and Bell and all that, none of that is on our arrival, because from there it depends on which runway you're going to be landing on. And so we'll get into that here briefly. The ATIS is 135.5, airport elevation 151 feet. So let's take a look at the approach. Now again, this is assuming that the weather is going to be somewhat consistent with what Sim Toolkit Pro is telling us right now. And if you're curious, if I pull the METAR, it says that the wind is 260 at 5 knots, which is completely the opposite of what it just told me a couple minutes ago, which means that this approach isn't going to work. So that's an easy fix. We're going to grab a different approach. It's going to be 26 right. Let me just pull up the charts here. And that's simple enough, and then I'll change it in the FMC really quick. Or I'm sorry, 25 right. The problem with those, of course, is these visual approaches, I don't know how accurate they are. This should be interesting. I say we give this Highway Visual 25 right approach a look. Let's see, what's the visibility here? Broken at let's see, 5,500, 10 statute miles visibility. It could be a little bit iffy, but you know what the heck, let's give it a go. Let's try and have some fun with it. So I've never flown this approach before. This could actually probably just about go on the unusual, difficult, and dangerous approaches playlist. But let's take a look at what we got here. So the ATIS is 135.5. We'll listen to that shortly. And again, if the ATIS matches up even close to what we're seeing here, again, well, this is showing wind 2605 knots, then this will be the approach. If not, it's going to be the ILS runway 7 left approach if it's something, depending on what the weather's showing. So we'll see here in a minute. Anchorage approach 118.6, tower 18.3, ground 21.9er. For nav aids, it says refer to the plan view. That's this right here. And final approach course, same thing. Refer to the plan view. So this is going to be interesting. You have to have visibility of 3,000 feet, greater than 3 statute miles at 3,000 feet. That's what that is. Airport elevation is 151 feet. No missed approach procedure. That's interesting. Okay. So transition is 18,000 feet. Great. Now let's look at this, because it's actually down here in the text really tells us what we got to do here. So from O'Malley Road overpass and New Seaward Highway intersection to Diamond Boulevard overpass, New Seaward Highway intersection. Follow New Seaward Highway. Remain 3.0 nautical miles from TED VOR or west of BGQ radial 153. Here's the 153 degree radial. Here's the TED VOR. And here's our waypoint. So we've got point possession, which is MOPME as a waypoint. FYES should be a waypoint here for shoreline. We should have waypoint here, Uhepu and Exibli, and these should also be the overpasses. And so from here, this is where we start our base. Basically, it's a base leg and turn to final. That's kind of what the approach looks like here. So with that in mind, let's take a look inside the, take a look on the flight deck here in the FMS and see what that's looking like. Inner destination data. I'd love to. Let's see if we can get our ATIS. Still not getting any ATIS here. So clear that out for the moment, but we are getting close to our top of descent. Now real quick, I'm just going to tell you the way that we've calculated top of descent is, the landing calculator's not working, by the way. So I'm at 38,000 feet. I want to get to 1,600 feet, and we're going to kind of stick with that. Yeah, probably closer to 2,000, but that's all right. It's going to work out fine because it's a visual approach. So we need to start 114 nautical miles before our target. And our target's going to change here. So take a look at this. Let's jump back down here. If I can get on this here. So we need to go back here and go to arrival. And then now we're looking at our approach here, right? So it's going to be the, please tell me it's in here. That's 25 left, 25 right. It's going to be the visual 25 right approach. All right, and then vias, and we want it to be via, I gotta shrink this so I can see over here, the MOP-ME. There's no vias on here, so insert that. That's all right, we're gonna make this work. Watch. Okay, so 25 right, go back to flight plan. We're just about at JOH right now. This is the runway here. I'm not sure what CF is, but it's 170 nautical miles different there. So right before the runway, I'm going to put in MOP-ME, M-O-P-M-Y, M-O-P-M-Y, and that's going to go right here. Here we go. And then after MOP-ME is going to be E-F-Y-E-Z, E-F-Y-E-Z. Again, that's still coming before the runway, so we're going to put that one in there. And then after that one is U-H-E-P-U. U-H-E-P and U. That's going to go right there. You can see it's only a couple of miles. I don't know why. It says -3. I don't know why. U-H-E-P-U and then X-I-B-L-Y. X-I-B-L-Y. We don't have to do any execute or anything like that with these. There we go. Those are right on top of each other. I don't know why it says -3. However, at EFY, okay, let's go back to MOP-ME first. 4,000 at MOP-ME, okay? So at MOP-ME, right here, /4000. There we go. We'll put that in there. What did we just do? Clear that. No, go back to flight plan. Oh, you know what? You got to do this. Click on MOP-ME, and then no, that's for a hold, right? Oh, it's not going to give me anything there, is it? Return. We should be able to just go /4000, right? Let's check. Maybe we need our speed. Let's do 185 / We should be able to put that in there. Should just go right there, but I keep getting this. Obviously, speed constraint, altitude constraint. So how far is it from there? It's not that far. 180. We'll go with 185 for now. So 185 speed constraint. It didn't do anything. 4,000 speed altitude constraint didn't do anything. Or climb descent. Oh, okay. Altitude constraint. So let's see what that did on there now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you have to set it as a descent. And then EFYEZ is 2,600. So the same thing, we'll click here. And then 2,600 feet. And that's, oh, now it just went right in there. So I don't know why it was doing it different. Let's see if it'll let me put in a speed constraint there. We probably want to be down to like 165 by the time we get there. Yeah, let me put that in too. So I don't know why it wouldn't let me do it on the first one. So return, so there you go, 165, 2,600, 2,000 at Uhepu, and by the time we get there, we should really be we should be fully configured at Uhepu. And just to give you an idea here, we're probably looking at, if we go to performance page, an approach phase, we're probably going to be right around this, right? So, now, again, I don't have a full ATIS yet, so I don't know. But at Uhepu, we need to be at 2,000 feet, so 2,000 on the altitude constraint, and then the speed, let's assume we're going to be pretty much right on our landing speed, and we're going to be light, so it's going to be probably around that. So +5 is going to be 126. So I want to be fully configured at Uhepu because we're making a turn right after that. Return. There we go, 2,600 there. 2,000 at Uhepu, and then exhibly it doesn't give us an altitude constraint, but if we're configured here, we should be good to go. Alright, great. So we're 125 nautical miles out from PANC right now. Okay, now the catch is this, and this is where it gets a little kind of a pain in the butt. And if somebody knows a better way to do this, let me know. Okay, at 114 nautical miles from our target is where we're supposed to start our descent, right? To get to 1,600 feet. We need to change this to 4,000 feet, and that'll bring it a little closer. So at 107 nautical miles out from 30, this is where we're at currently, right? Because we synced it up. So at 107 nautical miles out from where we want to be at 4,000 feet is when we start our descent. Okay. Well, where do we want to be at 4,000 feet? That's at MOPME. Okay. So when we're 104 or 100, what was it? 104 or 107? How did I forget it that quick? 107. 107. So when we're 107 miles from MOPME, that's when we want to be at. That's when we start our descent, right? So 78. Call this 20 for the moment. Makes it 98. See, we're already almost there, right? So you see, you got to add it up. So 76 plus 19 is 95 plus that's it. We're already there. I mean, that's all there is to it. So let's just jump up here real quick, and that's kind of the catch with the descent, right? So let's bring this down to 4,000 real quick, and then you have to activate it, right? So you have to click up, and now it's starting the descent. You see that? Very, very slowly starting the descent. But there we go. So now we're descending to 4,000 feet. Now, I don't know if there's a better way to do that, but it does not give me a top of descent on here, which is, you know, a little bit frustrating. All right. And I'm also a little frustrated. I'm still not picking up the ATIS 135.5. That's what we're on right there. But the fact that we're not getting the ATIS yet is a little frustrating. Come on, volume. Yeah, it's all the way up. Come on. Oh, boy, some of these click spots are tiny, huh? Okay. Enter destination data. Well, all I have to go off of right now is the METAR that I got from SimToolkit Pro, which may or may not be accurate. So I'm still going to wait on entering that, but just so you know, that's going to go in that performance page, right? So if we go here to the approach phase, I went past it. If we go to the approach phase, we're going to put the altimeter here, the temperature here, the wind here, and then right now it's only giving us an option for baro on the approach minimums, right? So for us, really, it has to do with the ceiling. So we have to have 3 miles visibility with a ceiling of 3,000 feet. So I'm not sure what we would put in there for minimums for that, to be honest with you. I've never flown that in real life, anything like that. So if somebody knows, let me know down in the comment section. All of that being said, I'm just waiting for the ATIS at this point, which, I mean, honestly, we should have it here pretty soon, but who knows, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break away for now, because that already took a little bit longer than I wanted. We're a little high on our descent at this point, but it's not the end of the world. We'll get all this sorted out, and then when we're getting close to this approach, I'll come back on and we can see if Captain Mac can still fly a manual visual approach halfway decent. See you shortly. Alright, it's about time for the fun stuff here. So if you can't tell, so here's CF. I didn't catch that initially, and then it circles back like this. So it's going to be interesting going from CF to MOPME, which isn't even showing up on here for some reason. But MOPME is on the flight plan. It's 19 miles from CF to MOPME, and then it looks like we're seeing what's that? However you say, FYES or whatever, FYES on there. That's showing up right here. So we're actually gonna have eyes on the runway as we start our initial turn there. But I'm gonna stick with it. We're gonna go out here and we're gonna fly the airplane. Let's listen to the ATIS real quick, and you'll hear that this is not the runway they're using. But this is the runway we're going to use for 2 reasons. 1, because the wind is calm, and 2, because the runway they're using is the opposite end of runway 33, which as far as I'm concerned is closed.
Anchorage Airport information, Whiskey 2000 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility tree. Sky condition, ceiling 4,800 feet broken. Temperature 14. Dew point 10. Altimeter tree 0.05. ILS runway 15 in use. Landing and departing runway 15.
Okay, there you go. So they're using runway 15. We're not going to use that. Let's take care of our approach checklist right now. So we don't have to worry about it. Okay, the barrels are set, seatbelts are good, minimums are going to be visual, auto brake is set to medium, and engine mode select is good. That takes care of our approach checklist. Landing checklist will basically be landing no blue, and you get the gist of it. Now, when you see we're starting our turn here, there's the airport right there, and there's our runway right there. Okay, so let's bring this down, zoom this all the way down here, and then so yeah, not really sure. It looks like it wants to come back, and then it's just being all kinds of weird what it wants to do there. Sometimes if you miss it, that's what happens. You get weird stuff on there. Yeah, so by the time we get basically to FYES, once we're gonna do I'm gonna do this circle, and then we're gonna pretty much have to manually fly the airplane, and that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. But we definitely want to make sure we're getting down by the time we get to Uhepu down to 2,000 feet, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, it's interesting. Because we're actually headed straight towards Mopme now, and it's because I did not know where that, I didn't pay attention, I didn't know where that last waypoint was going to be. So Mopme's out here. The problem, of course, is trying to make the turn back here. That's why it's doing all this weird little stuff here. But by the time we get to FYES, we want to be at 2,600 feet. It looks like we're on track for that right now. Kind of hard to say, to be honest with you. But we do have a little ways to go yet, so let's just let it kind of do its thing here. And we're just going to kind of see how it goes. We don't have really any visibility until we get below 4,500 feet. Is that what they said? 45 or 4,800 feet? Either way, we don't have any visibility right now, so we just kind of have to suck it up, right? So there's not much else to do except sort of wait it out here. Let's get our view in the proper position here, and get the track IR turned on, and then we'll just kind of work from here. So maybe a little jump. Yeah, a little jump there. Let me center that back up nicely for you. Sort of. And now I don't know what it's doing now. Where's it going? That's interesting. Should be making a left turn, not a right turn. Alright, autopilot coming off. I have control, and the speed's coming down, so that's good. Oh, we don't want to climb there, and I overturned. Oh, a little bank angle issue there. Alright, so yeah, we're descending about 500 feet per minute. Maybe we can descend just a little bit quicker here. I want to be able to see where we're going. That gives us a bit of a better view. We'll stick with the arc, though. I like that a little better. There we go. We'll just bring it around. We can't bring flaps out yet, but I can. I'm descending just a little bit quicker than I want to. There we go, right about there. That creaking you hear is my yoke. I'm not using a stick on this. Normally I would, but I was too lazy to change it out, to be honest with you. Alright. There we go. Now we're going to just kind of fly this, and we're going to try and get on that arc there. I don't know why it wanted us going the other way. That didn't really make sense. So, that's fine. It's not a big deal. But by the time we get to FYES, we want to be at 2,600, and we're at 5,600 right now. So we got a little ways to go, and we need to slow down as well. So I'm putting some spoilers out so we can start dropping those flaps. And we can descend a little bit quicker here. Yeah, I love the sound. Look at the water, looks beautiful, doesn't it? Oh, this looks fantastic. It's gonna be interesting. I'm hoping I don't mess things up here. No promises. Slow it down. Alright, let's get that first setting of flaps out. Let's go ahead and arm the spoilers. Oh, we can't arm the spoilers while they're deployed, doofus. Duh. Alright, let's see if this gets us back on the right track here as well, right? Because we still got a couple thousand feet to go and 5 miles to FYES, so we should be alright here. Start making our turn. A little bit of chop there, sorry about that. we are descending pretty quick, but I'm trying to make sure I make our altitude, because FYES is 2600 and it's 2000 at UHEPU, which is not that far from FYES. There we go. Now the what you call it there, the flight director's coming in where it's supposed to. Okay, I've got full spoilers out now. I'm just trying to slow her down. And there we go. Let's reduce that rate of descent a little. Just follow that flight director there. Next setting of flaps coming out. Now we can arm the spoilers. And we're just following that flight director now. And like I said, I want to try and be configured by the time we get to UHEPU. Descend just a wee bit faster there. There we go. Looking good. We are on auto throttle, just not on autopilot. So it's not too bad. We're just following the flight director. It's going to have us turn to the left here pretty soon. We're coming up on 2000 now, so here's 27 right here. We're still just a little ways off from UHEPU. We're looking good. Let's go ahead and drop that landing gear. And next setting of flaps coming in. And we're looking pretty good here.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
2,500.
I never turned landing lights on, I just realized that. Landing lights on. There we go. Alright, following the flight director. Got a little bit inside there. There we go. Now we're looking good. Little chop there. Oh, I hate when you chase the flight director though. You got to be careful not to chase it too hard, right? All right, we're looking pretty good though. We're not too bad. So there's an intersection down here, right? And it has it's this guy right here. Or this one. It's one of these intersections right here. I of course don't actually know which one it is, so alright. So pretty soon here, see now it wants us to climb, of course. I'm going to go ahead and configure fully. There's no reason for us to climb. We are a little below 2000, but that's okay, because we're descending to the runway here. So we are visual. Nice, easy, slow descent. And you can fly the auto throttles pretty much all the way in, because at 20 feet the auto throttle should automatically turn off. Alright, so we're going to fly this out a little further. Even though it's telling us to make that turn now, you see how it's trying to get us to run a straight line there? That's not going to work. Right, so we're going to fly this out a little further. Remember, it says 3 nautical miles from the VOR, which isn't showing up on here for some reason. Oh yeah, it is. PANC, there it is right there. 2.9. So this is the 3 nautical mile arc right here. And let's go ahead and just reduce that rate of descent just a wee bit more. There we go. So this is our runway over here, guys. And we can start making our turn to final now.
1,000.
We're looking pretty good. We might be just a skosh high. I don't know why it's getting choppy. It might be the scenery. This add-on scenery is pretty nice. It's got a lot in it though. Okay, looking good here. So we overshot it just a little. That's alright though. We got plenty of room to work with here. Be nice if that choppiness would stop though. Roll her out. And reduce that rate of descent a little. There we go. That's where we want to be. We're actually just about spot on here. Descending just a wee bit quick. There we go. Come on. Nice. Looking good.
400.
I'm going to try and fly the auto throttles all the way in. See how it goes. We're just a tiny bit low. We've got 3 red and 1 white.
300.
Let's listen to the rest of our call-outs.
$200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5,
minus 241 feet per minute, not bad. Too shabby. First time I've ever flown that approach, so I'm not too disappointed with that. Alright, retracting the spoilers. Let's get the flaps up. And we'll take her over here and find us a parking space. Should be a pretty short taxi here. We're just going to pull pretty much straight in. I'm going to go to one of those jetways, but other than that, I'll just either fast forward it or break away for a second, and then we'll see you when we're ready to shut everything down. Alrighty, got us a parking space here. I've already gone ahead and hooked up the ground power. Real quick, I'll just show you how you can do that. If you go to the same place that we did our fuel at, and your pushback option is there, and you've also got services. So I connected the jet bridge. We can call a fuel truck, baggage truck. I think the door opens automatically because it's not giving me the option anymore. Same thing with the cargo door. So those should be open. But either way, that means we can shut the engines down. So we'll just hop back here real quick. And 1 and 2, and that will shut down both of the engines. There you go. Engines are shutting down right now. And then we didn't officially do our landing checklist, but that's all right. Our after landing checklist, radar and predictive wind shear off. I didn't turn it off just because I wanted to show you guys one more time. This is where the predictive wind shear is. This would be the radar, but it doesn't do anything right now. So we turn the radar. I don't know if that should be off in the center there. So. But I didn't do that, so I just wanted to show you real quick. So that takes care of the after landing checklist, and then the parking checklist, parking brake or chocks. Chocks should be set actually, but it doesn't actually let me do them here. But the parking brakes are set, so I'm not too worried about that. So those are good. Engines are shut off. Wing lights. So we all know by now lights are like an issue for me, but wing lights are one that I can turn off. Strobe light is let's see, nav and logo. And there's beacon, but apparently I can't. The strobe light is like the opposite. Yeah, I don't get it. We can turn the beacon light off as well. We can let them know that passengers can start deboarding. Let's see if they do that even. But again, we're on external power as well. What else we got here? Wing lights. Oh, fuel pumps got to go off. There we go. And turn off the fuel pumps. Remember, dark cockpit concept, so when they're lit up, that means they are off. That takes care of our parking checklist. And as far as securing the aircraft is concerned, we're not going to shut everything down, and that means that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it looks like it did do the cones and the chocks on its own, and I think this guy is this one. I think if I go in here, that would probably be what? Power? Yeah, that's the power truck. So he'll drive into everybody, run everybody over, cause a big nuisance. But I wanted to get him out of the way of the belt loader here, which drove through the cone and doesn't even look like it's in the right position. But good times. Anyway, this was a great flight, despite the difficulties getting everything set up. Jumping through some hoops to make things run properly. You know, that it just is what it is. That happens sometimes, right? But, you know, hey, that's part of flight sim world here. But things came together nicely. I thought it was a great flight overall. It was a really long flight, but a beautiful flight coming in here to Anchorage, a beautiful flight out of Vancouver. So just all in all, it was a beautiful flight, and I really enjoyed it. And I love flying this airplane. I'm so impressed with what these guys are doing with it, and just really super grateful that there are some groups out there who are taking the time to put these together. There are a few really good companies out there that make excellent aircraft, and you know, you guys know how I am. I think that companies, sometimes I think they're a little greedy, sometimes I think they don't do everything that they should do. I don't know why they're loading baggage on this instead of unloading. But anyway, you know, we are seeing some great products coming out, but it's really nice to see that there are some guys, some folks out there who are taking the time to make some of these aircraft. Really, this is already borderline payware quality. You know, a few more little goodies in there, and this thing is just out of this world. So I'm really grateful for that. If you guys get an opportunity, download this aircraft, download the installer, and fly it. You'll absolutely love it. You won't be sorry. And other than the birthday flight coming up from here, which is going to take us from here down to Los Angeles, by the way, in case you're wondering, not sure what that flight's going to be in. It may be in it might be the Airbus, it might be a 737, it might be a 747. Not sure what I'm going to do that flight in yet. I'll talk to the birthday boy and we'll make that decision. But the next flight then that I'm going to need your guys' feedback from is the flight out of LAX for the life of a virtual airline pilot. And that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's all and no more, other than I keep forgetting to say it near the end here. If you think I've earned it, please go ahead and smash the subscribe button there. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you like it, and don't hesitate to leave some comments down there. Just be nice about it. You guys know I don't like mean comments. It makes me sad. Okay, I'm just kidding. It's not that it makes me sad. I just don't like mean comments. There's no reason for it. So give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you have any suggestions, comments, concerns, whatever, please put them down in the comments section there. And now that is it. That is all and no more, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all. Thank you for joining me, and have an absolutely fantastic day.